Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Comparison Course Studio. Welcome to the show. So, after this morning's episode, just kind of, the bad news in Magic lately, essentially. I mean, I guess any kind of news recently has really been bad news when it comes to Magic. But yeah, I just kind of decided that I need a little palate cleanser at this point. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a fun episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And, yeah, let's jump into it. So, on Blogatog, which is Mark Rosewater, the head of Magic Design, someone asked a question: if the conflict doesn't have to be violent, can I request a Magic set based on courtroom drama, ideally on Ravnica? And Mark responded with a card that I think is very interesting, and well, I think we should break down, because I think this actually could be a very, possible card for the future. Although I am definitely going to need some rules lawyers out there to help me out on this kind of stuff, because, yeah, this is way beyond my understanding of if this could be real or not. And I will mention that, well, Mark hasn't been my favorite person of all time in the most recent weeks. Yeah, Mark is still a great card designer, obviously. So let's just have this, being a fun episode again to cleanse the palate for the week. Here we go. So, Mark's card is You're Out of Order, and quickly, a big thank you to mtg.design for existing. You are a fantastic website, and yeah, that's actually how I made the custom version of this card. Mark just basically typed it out, I put it into this, and yeah, here we go. So, You're Out of Order, an instant for a blue that says, rearrange the order of the spells on the stack. So, a very simple and straightforward design, and one that, well, has a ton of implications if something like this were to ever exist. Now, there were some actually on Reddit who pointed out very correctly, I think, again, rules lawyers, you're going to have to help me out on all this stuff, but there probably should be one slight adjustment to this, so I just kind of reworded it. So here's the updated version, I guess. Rearrange the order of the spells and abilities on the stack. So maybe that's more so what it should be, because, yeah, you can't just rearrange the spells on the stack and have the abilities stay in the same spot if the abilities are also on the stack. I guess you technically could, but if you're going to do one, you do both. You know what I mean. It needs to be updated. So, yeah, again, rules lawyers out there, I would love for you to dissect this and let me know, number one, is this possible? It seems like something that should potentially be possible. Maybe you need some kind of a workaround or whatnot, but just being able to readjust the stack obviously could be a very powerful effect. One that, yes, can have some narrow application, but also not all that narrow in many circumstances too. This can be a game-changing card out of nowhere that could really well throw things temporarily into chaos in the stack, but make it so that things work in your favor, again, for just 1 mana at instant speed. So yeah, I think this is a fantastic design. I'd actually be pretty excited to see if this could ever be an actual card. This is one of those cards that I bet has probably been on Mark's mind for a while. And again, this kind of seems like an unset card in a way where, maybe in an unset coming out in the near future, maybe this could be an actual card itself. I don't know if this could actually, again, rules lawyers, that's why I need your help. I don't see a reason why something like this really couldn't exist just in Magic. I don't think it really technically, okay, it kind of breaks the game a bit by breaking the stack, but rearranging the stack, it seems like everything would work out, right? Regardless, now let's get into some examples, though, of kind of how this card can be applied, at least the first ones that kind of came to my mind, and kind of the potential for this game-changing card. So my first thought with this card is this is kind of like a counter spell in a way, and let me explain that. Basically, when I say counter spell, it's kind of like a counter spell that only really works against counter spells in a way. Kind of like, those red copy spells. They're like, hey, copy and insert sorcery. I mean, a lot of the time you can utilize those to just copy your opponent's counterspell, because if you're just in red, you don't have counterspells really, and then basically counter their counterspell with that. So it's not a counterspell technically, but it works as a counterspell. And in this way, again, if you can rearrange the stack, essentially, you're like, okay, I cast Colossal Dreadmaw or whatnot. And then your opponent's like, oh no, the most powerful creature of all time, counterspell. And then you're like, okay, well, I don't have a counterspell in my hand, but I do have your Out of Order. So I'm going to rearrange the stack. So essentially, the Colossal Dreadmaw is going to go before the counterspell. So therefore, Colossal Dreadmaw resolves because the counterspell does not affect it. And then the counterspell resolves, which is too late because the Colossal Dreadmaw has already resolved. So it's kind of, again, like a counterspell, if you catch my drift and if I'm making any sense at all. So that is definitely one application. And yeah, kind of along those lines, I mean, for a different kind of a counterspell like Flusterstorm, this could really work in your favor. The Flusterstorm is an instant that costs a blue, and it says counter target instant sorcery spell unless its controller pays 1, and it's got Storm. So basically, when you cast a spell, you copy it for each spellcast support this turn, choose targets to the copy. So if someone's, storming off essentially and casting a ton of things, you can then say, but let's just counter all those things essentially. You're out of mana probably, and now I'm going to make it so you can't, get any of those things through. So this is going to counter every single thing. But if you are able to, again, rearrange the stack with your Out of Order, you're instead like, well, you know what? Let's just make it so that all those Flusterstorm counters, go off last, essentially. I'm just going to rearrange the stack in a way that all the cards that I cast are going to go through. All those other things happen later, and then essentially they are useless. Again, it's like a counter spell, but in a massive way. And of course, I mean, another way that this card could definitely have a high impact is, well, I mean, in, combo situations, essentially. So, like, Isochron Scepter, Dramatic Versal, etc., etc., etc. A lot of different combos that you can utilize in Magic that are very, very powerful. And essentially, again, for just a single blue mana, you can be like, okay, yeah, you're trying to stop me from doing this. But instead of that happening, I'm just going to make it so that my stuff essentially happens first. I'm going to rearrange the stack in a way that I can just keep things going before your stuff actually even hits. So, yeah, it's kind of, again, like, counter spell, like a combo kind of backup or combo protection, essentially. The card has a lot of potential in those ways, and yeah, I'm sure I'm not even scratching the surface at the absurd potential of a card like this. I mean, when it comes to, cards interacting with the stack, we really don't see any. I mean, barely any. I mean, there's a couple of concepts that work with the stack a little bit, but not really. I mean, Grip of Chaos is probably the most direct one, or one of the most direct ones. Enchantment that says, whenever a spell or ability is put on the stack, reselect its target at random if it has a single target. So this one does actually mention the stack itself, and essentially says, hey, yeah, that thing that's going on in the stack, well, it's just going to have it randomly select something instead of whatever it was going to be, targeting, essentially. Corrosion Grip and cards like, Split Second, that obviously does mention the stack as well. As long as the spell's on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. So yeah, you can't do anything while this is on the stack. Again, very few kinds of cards actually even mention the stack. I mean, just do a Scryfall search for, stack, essentially, and you're not going to find all that much. Sundial the Infinite, another one that does interact with the stack. Pay 1, tap, end the turn, activate spell during your turn. So with that, you would exile all spells and abilities on the stack, so they'd all be gone. So again, whereas this new card is rearranging them, this one just saying, hey, they're gone. So yeah, there's already ways that you can interact with a stack. Again, there aren't many. And of course, it does get very hairy kind of when you really dig into it. And again, rule slayers out there, help me please in the comments below. Let me know all the possibilities for this card. Why or why not it would or would not work. Because, yeah, I think it's a very interesting concept. And one, again, I know the stack can be scary for many out there, but I think there's a way that we could make it work. So yeah, overall, an interesting concept for a card. One that, well, hey, if we ever did have, that courtroom drama set, that would be pretty entertaining, I think. And yeah, this card, I think, could definitely have a place in that. Or, we very well might see a card like this in Unfinity at some point. Maybe this card has already been slated for... I just said Unfinity. I meant Unset. You know what I mean? Maybe this card originally was, slated for Unfinity, and it has been on Mark's mind, and it's been, cut for whatever reason from there. But yeah, I mean, I think that this card has a good amount of potential. It's a card that can do some pretty crazy things. Again, interacting with the stack is not something we see every day. So yeah, I'm excited for this kind of realm of a type of card, and I think this card has a lot of potential, so we shall see. So yeah, that's the episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, well, the card, what your thoughts are on if it's, actually something that could happen, if it's something that will happen, if it's something that should happen, or, is it something that literally couldn't happen just because of the rules of Magic? So yeah, rules lawyers, help me out. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.